I'm here this afternoon in Fredericksburg, Texas with Chip Roy, who is running to fill the spot Lamar Smith is going to leave vacant. All right, I've got to ask you, why do you want to go to Washington, D.C.? You know, it's kind of crazy there.
Well, I appreciate that question, Kat, and I appreciate the opportunity to join you. I'm going to Washington for a simple reason. I think we need to make Washington work for us again. About 7 years ago, I can tell you that through faith, through some good work down at MD Anderson, I got through the other side of a battle with cancer, Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I had a 4-month-old daughter and a 2-year-old son. And my wife and I talked about it and prayed about it a lot at the time. And when I knew the good Lord gave me a little bit more extra time on this planet, I wanted to make sure I used it to save this republic for them and pass down something worth inheriting, and the great country that I inherited. So that's what I'm motivated to do, and we've got a great opportunity to do that right now. I think we should be very optimistic and positive that we're winning the narrative. We know that our values that made this country strong are continue to be what make this country great, and if we just keep taking them forward, we'll keep winning.
What are some of your key issues that you're concerned about?
Sure. Look, there's a number of issues. I mean, I could talk about how important it is to get our national debt under control. I talk about our national security, making sure our men and women in uniform have the tools they need and a clear mission and the care when they get home. Making sure our borders are secure and our country is safe, and we're preventing the far reach of gangs and cartels, but also protecting our fundamental liberties that are safeguarded in the Constitution, our First Amendment liberties in particular, but all of the Bill of Rights that our founders very presciently put in there to protect our God-given liberties and our ability to practice our faiths and make sure that we don't have faraway bureaucrats and people in Washington telling us how to live our lives. So these are some of the things that I think we need to be focused on. It's pretty simple, and then leaving the rest of the people, to the states, and allowing us to live in our communities and among our families the way we think is right, and not the way faraway people in Washington think.
You know, here in Texas, that border wall is a prime conversation.
Sure.
So your thoughts?
Well, look, I think it is a fundamental duty of a sovereign nation to secure its borders. Right now, I have had some great conversations with a lot of the people working down on the border. I was down in Laredo just a month ago. In the 72-mile stretch along the Rio Grande in Laredo, there's only 2 miles of navigable roadways along the Rio Grande. So let's forget fencing and forgetting a road for a second, or forgetting a wall for a second. We don't even have a navigable road along the Rio Grande. We've got guys that are down there at night with no radio signal, no cell signal. They've got no partner. They're by themselves. They're crawling through cane. They can't see the river, and they know that cartels have operational control across the river. That's just unconscionable in the greatest country and the most powerful nation in the history of the world, that we've allowed cartels to own the border. And you know what, as a Christian, it is appalling that we're allowing children to ride on the top of train cars, children to get sold into the sex trafficking business because we refuse to do our job as a sovereign nation and defend our borders. That is a solvable problem. You just gotta have people to have the willpower to do it, and I'd be glad to do that when I get to Congress.
What about all of the illegal immigrants that are already inside, especially in Texas? We have so many.
So I think this is a question that we've got to focus on the things that we need to do first, which is secure the border, fix our immigration system to be merit-based, point-based, so that you know who's coming, why they're coming, and that we have the labor supply that we need, but it's done through the rule of law. We're a nation of immigrants, we know that. And then I think you then take it step by step and make sure that no person is disadvantaged from having followed our laws. That is my baseline. Nobody who has come here illegally in violation of our rules and laws should be advantaged or put in line in front of anybody who's following our laws. We have millions of people around the world right now on a waiting list to get into our country. So we shouldn't disadvantage them for anybody who didn't follow our laws and came here illegally.
Currently, a lot of the illegals are getting free education, free medical care here in Texas. What do we do with some of those situations?
Well, I think what you start with is what we talked about, making sure our borders are secure, making sure we're following the rule of law, and a lot of those things take care of themselves, but also making sure that we look at the welfare state. You know, Milton Friedman famously said in the 1970s, he'd be all for open borders if you don't have a welfare state. And so one of the things we need to do is look at our budget, make sure that we get back to the things that made this country great: self-reliance, personal responsibility, federalism, leaving things to local governments and states and the people to take care of themselves, and go balance our budget. And if you do that, and if you secure our border, almost all of those problems you just mentioned go away. But we got a $1 trillion deficit looming this next year, and that's unacceptable no matter who's in power. And that's on the back of Republicans and Democrats.
Sounds like the budget's very important to you. Is there something in particular, some area in particular that you're wanting to look at on the budget?
Yeah, I mean, look, what you start with is you start with our constitutional duty in Congress. We have about $3.5 trillion a year in revenue. Start with that, just like you do in your budget at home, just like our state does, just like our communities do, like our churches do. You know how much money you have, then you start with what you have to do. And under the Constitution, we defend our country. So take the $1 trillion we need to take care of our men and women in uniform, make sure they've got the care when they get home, make sure we're following that duty, secure our border, then take what's left, go make sure people that need Medicare and Social Security that are relying on that promise made to them, make sure we take care of that. Then take what's left and make sure you do the basic duties of government, FAA, some of the other things. And what do you got left? Not much. So take that discretionary dollars, use it for very core constitutional purposes, balance the budget, leave everything else to the states. This isn't complicated. If I took any 100 Texans and dropped them into the United States Senate, we'd have a secure border, we'd have a balanced budget because Texans know what to do. And I think that's all we need to try to focus on.
I love that. That's well said. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out here and all you do.
Thank you.